Welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, your home for discussions and debates about all things animation. Each week, we'll rank, review, and revel in animated shows from yesterday and today, and from around the world. So grab your Acme slingshot, set your mobile suit to autopilot, and put on your mouse ears. The Animation Station Podcast begins now.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, there's really not a whole lot. Like, Europe doesn't play baseball at all. They play cricket, you know?
So let me ask you guys this, to kind of bring it back to animation. Why are there no sports-centric animated films, really?
Oh,
I don't know.
I thought you were going to say sports-centric like anime, and I was like,
oh my God, there's so many in
yeah. Really? I don't know of these.
In the anime realm, especially like soccer, like they love like kung fu football, you know what I mean? Where it's always like ninjas in soccer because that just seems to go hand in hand. Like, especially when you're doing like,
really good.
Like bicycle kicks or like goalies that are making like superhuman saves. I think that plays. I mean, otherwise, what you had the Mighty Ducks animated TV show that happened in the '90s, where they were like superheroes and hockey players.
Yeah, they were like
that was
mutants.
a thing.
Yeah, they were actual ducks. So I mean, there you had that. With basketball, you had what Space Jam, which was live action mixed with animation. But yeah, I think it's. You know, the big underdog story, like that's kind of the go-to. You think like Little Giants, you think Mighty Ducks, you know, the Big Green, like these are all, you know, misfit teams that get thrown together with a new coach that's facing some sort of problem outside of just coaching, and they have to make this team a group of winners. So I'm surprised that we haven't seen like a Disney film around this, you know, like something that was more sports-centric, but I think they know the princess formula works.
Yeah, that's true. And I feel like this may harken back to a conversation that Josh and I had. I think we had it on one of our podcasts where it was about the superhero thing. Like, why aren't there more feature animated superhero movies? Like, why aren't the major studios doing these major superhero movies? Because they're making money hand over fist in live action. And Josh's main point, which I felt was a really good one, was that when you make it a cartoon, a lot of your core audience is going to think, "Oh, that's just for kids."
Oh, for sure.
They're not. So the American football audience or the American basketball audience isn't necessarily going to watch a feature film based on basketball or football because they think it's just for kids. And I think that's really sad. I don't like that at all.
No, same.
Yeah, because I love sports, and I would love sports to cross over with the other thing that I love, which is animation.
Well, think about like how successful Big Hero 6 was. So like at that point, you'd think, oh yeah, full length featured animation. I mean, I know the Batman Lego movie was technically like stop motion more than like actual animation, but I still think it fits within that wheelhouse. But I personally would think that like DC, especially with their full length feature animation, has had enormous success. Like everything from, you know, Flashpoint Paradox to Justice League movie to Justice League Dark. I mean, I think they've had a lot of success with Marvel. They haven't done so much the full length feature when it comes to animation, but they've had a lot of success with their TV shows on Disney XD, like, you know, the different Spider-Man Chronicles that they've done, the Avengers. More recently, they did Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think has done really well. So, you know, I think they find what works. But if you think about all of those movies we just named, other than maybe some of the DC stuff, it really has been geared towards teens and younger kids. It's not really geared towards the adults. And like you said, I just think animation in general, typically for the uninitiated or the inundated, if you will, they view it more as, oh, that's children's programming. That's not for adults. And to be fair, I mean, we did our DreamWorks episode on Wednesday, and pretty much every movie that we named off, I was like, oh, that's for kids. That's not for me. You know? Yeah, because I'm not going to go pay money to see How to Train Your Dragon 3 or the thankfully canceled Croods 2. Like, you know, if I didn't pay money for the original film, I'm definitely not going to go pay money for a half-ass sequel. Like, it's just, that's not for me. But I do think that certain studios have a reputation, and that reputation sort of precedes them regardless of what the content of the film is.
Totally. I agree with pretty much all of that. Well said, sir.
Thank you.
So on that bombshell, welcome to the Animation Station Podcast, episode
37.
Oh, thank God. That's my magic number.
Is it really?
Yeah, it
Sweet.
really is.
Nice.
I'm your host, Josh. Joining me is other host.
Co-host Gavin.
That's a better
And
word for
guest
other
host.
Liam DeCosmo
Yes.
of Cloud City Cast.
Yes, our
Rein it in,
great
bub.
friend from Cloud City Cast joining us once again.
Why, thank you. And then possibly Brittany
Thanks.
as she drifts in and out. Also from
Awesome.
Cloud City Cast.
She's
She's
welcome anytime she wants to drift
She's like
in.
some sort of specter. She just kind of whiffs in with the wind and then leaves mysteriously.
Yes, indeed.
This is true. She's like a forest spirit from Princess Mononoke.
Yes, those things are so cool.
Clicky click click clicks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Speaking of Studio Ghibli films,
Yes, we got some big news
in
from
the
Ghibli.
news, we have some G Kids announcements.
So excited
They
about
do
this.
a lot of the Ghibli releases and a lot of these kind of more independent-esque type releases. And I meant to show you a trailer for a movie that they're doing, and I should have done it. It looks really. It kind of looks weird. It looks funny but weird. But anyway,
Okay.
we'll watch that later.
All right, we'll talk about
But
that later.
G Kids is doing what they're calling Ghibli Fest,
So
which
cool.
is they're going to be showing subs and dubs of Ghibli movies throughout the rest of the year
In theaters.
in theaters.
Yes.
So we're going to get the sub version if you want to read, or if you actually want to sit and watch the movie and
enjoy
be able
it.
to see all of it.
Is it the Buena Vista voice castings? The Disney voice castings?
Yeah, I would assume it's the Disney ones because you
Okay.
can't find the other ones anywhere.
Well, they've done a really good job, so
Yeah.
I hope
Well,
it's.
I don't know. We watched Castle in the Sky.
It was pretty good.
Huh?
It was good. Okay. Anyway, keep going.
Anyway, so they're going to kick it off with My Neighbor Totoro,
Yes, my favorite.
June 25th and 26th,
Nice.
followed by Kiki's Delivery Service,
Very
July 23rd and 24th, Castle in the Sky,
Nice.
August 27th and 28th, Nausicaa of the Valley of the Wind, September 24th and 25th,
So awesome.
Spirited Away, October 29th and 30th,
Nice.
and they're going to close out the year with Howl's Moving Castle, November 26th and 27th.
My
That's
favorite.
Fantastic. Oh, is that your favorite?
Yeah. Wait, and that's November 26th and 27th?
Yeah.
Correct.
Nice. That's the lead up right before my birthday. So well timed, G
There you
Kids.
go.
Well
That
timed.
is awesome.
Unfortunately, Mononoke is not on the list.
Aw,
which
we've
is a
seen it on the big
travesty.
screen though. Oh wait, no, we missed that one on the big screen, didn't we?
Yeah, we didn't get to see Mononoke. But I'm going to go see Spirited Away again.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
That one's
It's
so good.
Fantastic.
Yeah, it's fantastic.
No face all day, every day.
I'm more of a Haku. Haku? Haku. Haku?
Haku.
Haku.
The
Haku
emphasis on
is
the
from
ooh and the
Samurai
ooh
Jack.
at the end. Haku. Yeah, that I thought that was so cool. His little I'm gonna turn into a dragon, and now I'm a boy, and now I'm a dragon. I'm also the sea.
It's very it's very D&D. He's like a druid.
Yeah, exactly.
Also, I'm not 100% sure if it's still going on, if you can catch Your Name anytime, definitely go see it.
So they haven't released any dates beyond.
Not that I've seen.
The
Not that I've
weekend.
seen
Okay.
just this weekend. Or
Man, that's
last
crazy to
weekend,
me.
technically.
It's crazy to me. It's like the biggest selling anime movie ever in Japan, right? Mm-hmm. It's broken all the records.
It's made.
and it's
see, here's
not
the thing.
going
Here's the
into
thing.
wide release
it's made,
in America.
It's
Why
made,
not?
It's made $300 million US without coming to the United States yet.
That's crazy. They
For
need to
for an
put this in
animated
every
film,
theater in
yeah.
America.
I mean, it's been basically all over the world, except here. And now we finally get it. I'll be interested in the numbers to see how well it did.
And that's on
If
your
it's going to
your
get-
name.
Yes.
yeah,
I believe the original Japanese is Kimi no Nawa,
yeah.
Gotcha.
Kimi no Nawa.
but Your Name.
Wait, you guys reviewed Castle in the Sky, right?
Yes, we did.
We did.
But you didn't do Nausicaa, the Valley of the Wind.
Not
Not yet.
Nausicaa.
I'm slowly walking Josh through the Ghibli catalog.
Gotcha.
And the more we watch, the more
It's
he
pronounced
likes.
Ghibli.
It's not actually. If you're Italian, yes.
So, there you go. I was right.
Yeah, I think on their on Wikipedia
Wikipedia
it says it's the hard G. It's Ghibli,
Yeah.
not the soft Italian G.
Well, Wikipedia can be edited by whoever.
Yeah, but I feel like I've checked it multiple times. So unless it's the same guy that just happens to be going back in and changing it, or girl, sorry, that changes it right before I view it. And to be
Liam,
fair,
there can be equal opportunity editors.
yeah, equal opportunity hackers. No, I remember I was reading somebody's. There were two awesome instances on Wikipedia. Sorry for the tangent, but one I was reading through something and somebody had changed it so it was like cheese. I love cheese, and like that was just in the middle of a sentence. So I was really excited, and I hope that nobody would find that. And then another one was I found the Wikipedia page for a band that we had toured with, and in it was like such and such band was known for reintroducing something into the pop punk like scene, and they also introduced Rohypnol, and I was like, oh my god, like who puts that in a Wikipedia page? It was so
amazing.
inappropriately awesome. I was very excited.
Kudos to whoever did that.
Yeah, I feel like I took a screenshot, so I have that forever.
Nice.
I remember back during one of the I can't remember which presidential, the one where Mitt Romney ran against Obama.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Barry.
Someone on his Wikipedia changed Mitt Romney's first name, so it was Wilford Mittens Romney, and I was like, that's perfect. So I just called him Mittens. The whole entire
amazing.
campaign was like, oh, it's Mittens.
Oh, there he is. Now, are we 100% positive that his name isn't Mittens and Mitt just is short for the full name Mittens?
We're
I'm not.
I just pulled it up just to check to see what if that was real, and it's just Wilford or Wilbred, whatever, Mitt Romney. Like, dang.
That's unfortunate.
I would assume that maybe it comes from like
Mitchell?
Mitford or something. It does sound like a
Mitford?
shortened thing.
Mitford.
I don't know. I really hope that somewhere out there is just a kid named Mittens. I just think that
I'm gonna name my kid Mittens.
it's a name that cats have abused for centuries, and I just think it's time that it breaks out into the mainstream. So,
Word.
All right, are you guys ready to talk about
Death Note. Let's do this, man.
Do it.
All right. So, I have a little bit of documentation here. Death Note was a manga, whatever you want to call it. It depends on what.
Let's
type.
call it a Japanese comic book.
Calling it a comic book is kind of
Offensive.
Oh my gosh!
It's
Seriously?
It's more of a graphic novel.
Oh, okay. Graphic
Yeah.
novel. Japanese graphic novel.
It's a manga. It was written by oh lord, here we go.
Good luck.
I apologize in advance.
You're good with these.
Sugumi Oba and illustrated by Takeshi Obata.
Okay.
Or
How
Obata.
faithful is the show to those original illustrations?
100%.
Sweet. Okay, cool.
That's why I say 100%. We do miss a little bit of Light's extra killings at the beginning.
I'm just talking about like character design and environmental
yeah,
design.
it's
It looks the
pretty
same
much,
as the manga, except with color.
The manga debuted in 2003 and went to 2006, had 12 volumes, with a 37-episode anime from 2006-2007. It's had 4 live-action films,
Wow.
2 TV dramas, and 1 musical.
Whoa, a musical?
A musical, yes.
What?
Dude,
I need to see that.
if it can be made into a musical, Japan's got it down.
Really?
They will make anything into anything. If it's popular, you got it. It's there.
I didn't know they did musicals,
Oh
though.
yeah, there's like Sailor Moon musicals.
What?
Is there? I don't know if there's a Cowboy Bebop one.
There better be a Cowboy Bebop musical.
And there's also the Netflix, which this surprised me. I thought the Netflix series that comes out on August 25th. I thought that was a series.
Right.
I did not know it was just a movie.
Yeah.
And you did not know
thought
that it was
pretty controversial.
Did you know that it was also set in Seattle and that they've changed the main character's name from Light Yagami to Light Turner?
Oh my gosh, I can't talk. I'm saying bup, and he keeps talking and talking. We were gonna get to that, Liam.
Oh, my bad.
Oh,
That's gonna be, dude. That's
you've-
gonna be part 2 of this whole entire conversation. Is just talking about the Netflix bit.
Oh God, I'm so excited to talk about this, but also horrified to talk about this as well.
Right? Yeah, it's gonna be very difficult.
Yes.
It's going to be interesting.
All right. So the original concept for this, because there is 37 episodes, we decided to do. I tasked Gavin with episodes 1 through 5.
Right.
So Gavin, how many episodes did you end up watching?
I am halfway through episode 6, so I have accomplished my goal.
And
Nice.
you surpassed your goal. So
I've
congratulations.
surpassed it.
there.
Yes. But that is definitely enough to understand all of the ins and outs of this show, as far as, here are the main characters, here are the main plot drivers.
You
this
think.
This is what
You would
is
think.
going on in the world in this story. I understand that there are definitely possibilities for twists and turns, but you understand that it's basically kind of like a crime drama. It's it's got a bit of a Constantine thing, because we've got like angels and demons kind of stuff coming in, and you've got. I think it's really interesting that they decided to go with a high schooler as the main.
Well, it's a Japanese anime.
Is it
99,
protagonist?
99, anything to do with any sort of manga or anime in Japan.
Right.
Is
I get
high
that,
schoolers.
but when you
'Cause
put
they
something
market to their audience.
something that grants this level of power into the hands of a high schooler who has, some sort of. I mean, teenagers just have an imbalanced ego already. And you put something like that in the hands of a teenager, and within the first 10 sentences he says after receiving the book, he says, "Oh, I'm going to be God now."
Yeah.
And I think that's really interesting. And then in episode 2, when they bring in his nemesis, basically in L, then it's like, oh, wait, maybe this isn't going to be a cakewalk. Maybe I have to kind of slow my roll a bit and, strategize a little bit. I think that is really when the show gets interesting. Like for me, episode 1 was, okay, I get it. Episode 2, hook. It hooks you in episode 2.
Hey, Brittany.
No, she's not here yet.
Ah, dang. I was gonna.
You were hoping. You were hoping. No,
Yeah.
What did
I heard
you
a
hear?
noise, and I was like, oh, maybe that's her sitting down. So I'm gonna be like, hey, Brittany.
That's hilarious.
Drat.
Good try. Good try.
Now,
If I had been smart, I would have been like, hi.
all right. So let's go ahead, and I just want to put something out here now.
Okay.
Gavin, earmuffs if you want. If you
No,
want to leave the
no,
conversation,
it's
you
fine.
can leave the conversation.
It's fine.
But we're going to go spoiler heavy from here on out.
That's fine.
Does that go with you, Liam?
Oh yeah, I've watched this series like 4 or 5 times, so
Yeah.
I'll talk about as little or as much as you want to talk about.
Yeah,
Like
Just
I
let me
could
know.
spend 45 minutes just talking about the first episode. Like this is such a good series, so I'm whatever you guys want to talk about.
I've only watched the anime one time through. This last time to kind of catch up, I knew where I've read the manga like 3 or 4 times. So I mean, just because it's fantastic and it's easier technically because I can literally just pop it and read it real quick, like one volume, and just kind of get rid of it.
Right.
But the second time, I knew where stuff was happening, so I would just kind of flip through. And so I think I only watched 6 or 7 episodes,
Right.
but I watched the first 2 episodes. I watched the I guess the interrogation bit is when they take Light and they kind of hold him for 50 days because he writes that BS
50
in there.
days.
Yeah, they hold him for
Dang.
50 days because they write this BS in there, if the person who has the death note doesn't write a name in 13 days, then they die, which is a
What?
total fabrication. It's not an actual rule.
Right.
But that's part of the death note that they give to Elle, and Elle's like, oh, this is how we're going to find out. And so, exactly.
So it's a ruse.
It's, totally a ruse
Got
to get,
it.
light. And what's her name?
Like
Is it
when
Misa?
like when he tricks that criminal into grabbing the piece of paper from the Death Note on the bus,
Right.
in the hijacking.
And he sees Ryuk.
See, he's really clever, and I like that. I like that they made this high school kid really smart and clever.
Well, he's a genius.
But he's still a teenager, and so he has that stupid, overinflated ego too,
Yeah, he's
which drives
such an
him.
a-hole.
I don't
He's
think
super God complex.
some guy like that's 45 that's just been working some menial job, in a factory or something. If he found that notebook, it'd be a totally different story. So I think it's
he
kind
would
of
kill his
smart.
boss. Like, first off, he's like, Mr. Jones, he's
Right.
dead.
Well, and I think that's like the big point of this is like if you give it to somebody that's aged, somebody that has more experience, they're gonna go more on revenge killing than they will on kind of targeted killing. And the way that or that Light kind of goes into this is he almost views himself as a superhero at first. Is like, oh, I've gained these superpowers, the ability to kill bad people without it really being able to be traced to me. And at least the way that it starts out is it shows how even the purest intentions can eventually corrupt. Like what is that saying? Like ultimate power corrupts ultimately. So you see this throughout the series. Like as even within the first 5 episodes, you kind of see where his mentality goes. And Gavin, I don't know if by 5 or 6 have you met Misa Amane?
She's a model. I don't
think
no,
so,
because he's still because I think Ray's still alive.
But I have seen examples of what you're talking about, Liam, because I have seen the episode where he basically kills the guy that's tailing him.
Oh, so you okay?
Yeah.
Okay.
So you can see that like he's already starting to be corrupted because that guy didn't do anything wrong. He's no criminal,
but he's closing in on him.
He sees him as somebody who could potentially impede his mission, so he kills him.
What's worse about that is the guy literally says, "This is my last day. This kid's got nothing."
Yeah,
and he's like, he's totally about to give up. They're about to go back to America.
Yep.
If Light would have waited another 24 hours, he would have been everything would have been perfect.
Yeah.
But you
scot free.
But you see him mentally break down throughout this point where he's, especially when he notices the tail and he realizes that there's the potential that he could get caught and potentially be stopped. That's when he starts to unravel. And then each person that's come closer and closer to catching him, he unravels further because he's so afraid to lose the power that he has. And I think that that's something that we've seen throughout centuries. Like anytime somebody comes into power, whether it's through altruistic means or, the worst intentions, they still allow that to corrupt them to the point that they never want to let go of that ability once they've gained it. I mean, isn't that the main premise of Star Wars? That's why the Emperor doesn't let go of his the emergency powers that are given to him, is because he's too afraid to let go of that control.
Right. Totally. I totally agree with that. So,
and Josh, I don't know if you've ever seen it, but Star Wars is like a sci-fi, like space opera. It's more of like it's more fantasy really than straight on sci-fi, but it's really good. It's like Star Trek, but like good. There's that's the main difference.
It sounds kind of boring.
I don't agree with everything you just said, Liam. I agree with the first part.
There you go. So okay. So with where you are in the show, Gavin, I mean, this is still very much in its infancy of the development between like Ryuk and Light and kind of his interaction. Obviously, you've seen that his father is he's an FBI agent. He's like an officer.
Yep. He's
a detective and investigator.
Like right now, the story basically is still Light and L just kind of circling around each other, just in that kind of like keeping a distance, circling, like, okay, where can we push? Where can we...
Have they formulated, like, the Kira task force yet?
No.
No, they haven't even formed that yet.
Let's talk about that name that they give him. The popular name for this hero is Kira, which, isn't that, like, it's like the...
Killer.
Yeah, exactly.
It's killer, but it's like the English version.
Right. Yeah. Like, is that cool? Like...
Sure.
That's weird. I don't get.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't get
it
that.
ties in, at least from my interactions with like Japanese culture. Like the band that I was in, one of our records was actually released in Japan on a record label called Kick Rock Records, and the owner of the record label was really, really cool. But you say certain words, like he came over to America to meet us in person, and he was a really nice guy. But some of the words that he would say, you could kind of tell was like what Josh said, was like that English. You know, like he was like, "Oh yeah, I love punk rockaroo," and we were like, "What are you talking about?" "Oh, punk rock." "Okay, cool, we got it." Like there's certain words that it's their version because there's no direct translation, so it's just them utilizing an American word and kind of Japanesing it, Japanizing
so it's kind
it.
of like Spanglish.
Exactly, it's exactly
that's
like
a movie with
Spanglish,
Adam
but
Sandler.
for
Okay.
Japanese.
Okay, interesting. And that just kind of struck me when they started naming him. I was like, wait, what?
Yeah,
Is that cool?
It's bizarre.
Okay.
There's one character I feel really bad for because like at first, before Light decides he's like, I can be the god of this new world. You're like, okay, I can kind of see where you're coming from. This could work. You're killing all these bad guys that have done bad things. That's good. And then he's like, I'm gonna be God, and you're like, okay, well now it's kind of
Slow your roll.
you're
you
Anakin
17-year-old.
Skywalkering this just a little bit, bro. It's gonna start talking about sand.
But I think that's kind of like the theme throughout this show is like even when Misa Mane shows up and kind of his interaction with her and how, I mean, ultimately she becomes a means to an end. You know what I mean?
She's a character I feel for so much in this show because he just uses her and uses her and uses her.
But she kind of willfully allows that to happen because
she lets it happen because she's in love with him.
She's love struck, or she's love struck with the idea of Kira because obviously she doesn't know Light as a person, and he's very two-faced. Like his persona in the public eye is very different than the true persona that you see when he interacts with like Ryuk and when he's writing in the book and whatnot. But with Misa, she's very much like, this is just who she is. She's very bubbly. She's very outgoing. I feel more for her Shimigami Rem, to be honest. I think Rem gets the short end of the stick, like through her whole arc, and like that.
And Light plays Rim like a fiddle too.
He really does.
He knows. He's like, all right, the only way to save Misa is for you to prolong someone's life, and it just ends up screwing Rim, so Rim has to protect Misa, and Rim dies. But yeah, I mean, like, what he basically does, like, the way he manipulates Misa is so bad, because he basically causes her to cut her life in half twice.
Yeah.
Dang.
So, yeah, it's like a Shinigami
Does he give her the eyes?
So
Okay.
gets one eye.
I do know that deal.
Loses her memory, can't remember the Shinigami
Oh, you can
eye.
just take on one eye?
Yeah, you get one eye.
Oh.
So she loses her memory, and then so it's like, okay, you're gonna use the Shinigami power to get this Shinigami eye.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna decrease your life. Doesn't remember that she's already done that.
Oh,
Totally does it twice.
Oh man, that's a bum
And
deal.
yeah, oh man, she's got like months to live by like the end of the series. You're like, oh, she's gonna die any minute. She's gonna keel over. It's gonna be
That's
bad.
crazy.
Yeah, and yet again, it becomes he's using these other people to continue to be able to do what he's been doing for so long. So, I mean, it's sad, but you also feel like, well, these characters could have done something to stop him, like especially her. Like, I mean, I know Josh, you haven't, or not Josh, Gavin, you haven't gotten to this part, but she has a Shimigami because she also has a Death Note. So she very much could just write Light Yagami in her book and done, and he's gone. But she's so awestruck and in love with what he's doing because he basically is doing what she wishes that she could have thought of doing before. You know, like she had this ability but didn't really use it, and he, like, the day he finds it immediately is like, I'm going to do these things, and I'm going to be a new god, and she's like, I'll be subservient to you.
So does he know that she has a Death Note?
Yep.
Yeah,
Is
because
he
he sees her.
jealous of that? 'Cause
He
why don't
sees.
they team up?
Well, isn't it that he sees her Shimigami and he's like, Jesus Christ, what the heck? There's more.
Yeah, I mean,
Something along those lines.
is he jealous of her having that power?
No,
too?
he sees this because at this, I think when he meets Misa, Light's like, I mean not Light, L is like, kind of like, I know. Like, it's this guy, he's peculiar. Mm-hmm. And so he uses Misa as, like, when he can't be seen killing, Misa just happens to have this other death note.
So he uses her.
Okay. As the kind of like a means to get rid of L.
It's not a real partnership.
Oh, no,
right.
It's it's definitely not a partnership.
Interesting.
Yeah,
right.
and obviously with L only utilizing the letter L, Light can't just immediately eliminate him. For those obviously that are have never seen this, so L is basically protected as long as his real name is unknown, and nobody really knows this character. And it takes a little bit for us to even be introduced to him because he's just this disembodied voice that we hear over the phone with just that old English styled L on the screen, and that guy that's all in like all black trench coat and the hat just brings a computer like into Interpol. It's so freaking cool.
Yeah,
I do like that element. I thought that was a really cool touch.
Yeah, so I mean, it's I think a lot of the noir build up for this was so intriguing and just really, like you said, from like episode 2, you're immediately invested in all of the characters. You're like, I want to know what's the dad going to deal with? What is this investigator Ray going to deal with? What is Elle dealing with? And then when you meet like Misa and Rem and I mean, eventually we meet. Well, I don't want to go too far because I don't know what Josh wants to be revealed or not. But I mean, we
can. I mean, it's up to Gavin. And
the fans wanted us to talk about Death Note. We could talk about
we had a lot of people asking us
I'm fine.
What we're doing. With
you can spoil it for me. I'm fine.
And I can kind of put it to you this way too, Gavin. And for those that haven't seen it, is there the benefit of this? Like even knowing how it ends, this is such a story that you're like, but I still want to see how they get there. You know, like it's and even like I said, I've seen it like 4 or 5 times now. Every time I watch it, I pick up on something else, and I'm like, oh my god, how did I not see that last time? So there very much is this wheels within wheels development within this anime, and even when it does ultimately end, you're like, that can't be it. There has to be more.
Nice, that's good. I like a story that leaves you wanting a little bit.
And no, go ahead, Josh.
I will say, once this is a big spoiler, Gavin, so you may actually want to do earmuffs.
No, I'm good.
Okay.
I'm good.
Once L goes, once that happens, there's a lot of people that don't like the whole Mellow and Near bit.
Right. Well,
I see. Neither one of them are as good as L, but together they make a competent L.
Right.
So it's kind of like the opposite of Troll Hunters, where the first enemy was like, and the second enemy just super brings it. It's kind of the opposite.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, honestly, they kind of led with their best foot. Like, L, to me, seemed more talented, more ingenious, and I don't think he fully understood what Misa was to the situation. Yeah, he saw her very much on the surface, but he knew that Light was Kira, like pretty much from the first time he met him, and it was slowly trying to build his trust and try to break down Light's walls and catch him. Whereas with Misa, he was like, I don't even know why she's here. Like, why would Light be with somebody like this? It doesn't make sense. When Light ultimately kind of tries to sacrifice Misa to catch Al and be able to kill him, you kind of are at that point, you're like, Elle, how do you not see this? Like, you're such a smart person. Like, how? And she was just a blind spot for him. But then for Mello and Near, they almost like didn't care about anybody. So it wasn't like they were trying to like figure out one person against the next. It was like they were way more fact based than even just Elle was. And
like L's problem was he put too much faith in the Death Note itself.
Yeah.
That was his problem. The moment that he got that Death Note that said, if you don't write in it in 13 days, you die. The moment he got that, it was checkmate for him.
Yeah.
Right.
I mean, sorry, it was checkmate for Light. Once L hook, line, and sinkered that, it's like Light won. Yeah. And it was just, how was he going to do this? Because L is so into this that nothing's going to change his mind. Because they come up with that plan. They were like, okay, we're going to get a death row inmate, and we're going to have another death row inmate, and he's going to write this name down. And if this guy doesn't die in 13 days, he gets pardoned.
Right.
So that they were going to test it, but it was going to take another 2 weeks. And that's when Light's like, you know what? No, let's go ahead and kick this off now. And that's what happens.
Right.
That's the thing. It's like he's always the smartest guy in the room. That's what ends up being compelling to me, is that even though it's this kid with this overinflated ego, he's still the smartest guy in the room everywhere he goes.
Yeah.
And in regards to Mello and Nier, like Mello is the super emotional side of everything. They're basically like two halves of the same coin. Mm-hmm. Like Mello is the super emotional, like, we're gonna go get him, let's go do this. This is how I'm gonna do it. And he just kind of lets his feelings and actions do all the talking. And Nier is like, he's, basically he's more L than, Nier, obviously. I mean, Mello. But Nier just kind of sits there. It's like, we can play this long game. Mm-hmm. Like I'll play this long game of chess with you, while Mello kind of does whatever Mello's gonna do.
Right.
And eat candy bars, because that's what he does. It's like, I'm just gonna play with my cool little finger puppets and my Legos and stuff like that, and make these elaborate scenarios that will kind of end up being wrong until the very end. But the way that they catch him with that, it's like, oh wow, it's like you can see where Nier has been putting all these pieces into place, and then when it finally happens, you're like, oh snap. That's actually really, really clever.
So is the story pretty much faithful to the manga?
Yes.
The story in the manga? Okay.
There's a little bit more at the end. Like, the cult of Kira, like, doesn't die. It, like, gets stronger.
Okay.
Well, because now he's a martyr.
Exactly.
Yeah, that often happens.
It's like he dies, so, and, like, Misa is, like, head of the cult, pretty much. Okay. So... yeah.
So there's more of an epilogue in the show than there was in the
there's no epilogue in the show. It's like, I think it just shows Misa. I think she like goes and stands on a roof, and it looks like she's about to go like commit suicide, which is kind of weird. And then Light just kind of like dies. Yeah. Awesome. So he just kind of like closes his eyes. I mean, he's lack of blood. He got shot like 5 times.
Right.
And then Ryuk writes his name.
Yeah.
Well, because he's boring now. Like, once he's been shot that many times, and the whole route, like, that's what kept Ryuk invested this whole time, is that Ryuk's like, wow, I want to see what this human does, because humans are crazy. I never understood, like, what lengths they would go to betray one another and to cause harm. And he was like, this is way worse than anything a Shimigami would do. I'm just going to watch this play out. And then when he sees how it does play out, he's like, oh, you bore me now. Just writes his name in the book. He's like, cool, done, and moves on.
Well, yeah, because he's like, Ryuk's like, oh man, they're gonna catch you. You're gonna be in jail for a while. That's not gonna be fun. Light Yagami dead. He's like, oh no.
Yeah, well, because that's like, I don't know. I think that to me was like it was like a perfect ending, but at the same time, when watching that, I was just like, no, there can't be more. Like, now Ryuk's got to give the book to somebody else, and now we got to have a new Kira. Like, there's got to be other ways, or there's got to be other Shimigamis that see what Ryuk did and go, well, I want to do that, and they give their book to somebody else.
Yeah, they could totally Doctor Who that story and just have a new Death Note keeper or whatever.
Right, but then
continue it on forever.
But does it always just become this one person writing names in a book, and then some weird child genius detective trying to hunt them down? Like, then it just becomes redundant. It's like, how do you take this same premise and make it more interesting? Like, how do you flip it on its head? Maybe you give the Death Note to somebody that's trying to keep it from somebody else that's searching for it. You know what I mean? Kind of like what they did with Mello as a... I mean, Gavin, you haven't gotten to this part yet, but Mello is basically a member of the mafia, whereas Nier is part of the U.S. government. So Mello wants to get to the book because he's like, hey, this would be awesome to have, whereas Nier's like, well, I'm continuing the work that L failed to accomplish.
Got it.
Yeah, so it...
Yeah, I mean, like you guys said, it's kind of one of those stories where even... once you know the end, you do kind of want to see how it plays out there, because this show is all storytelling. It is all story, and that brings me to what I would say is my biggest criticism of this show. Guys, this show's not an animated show. There's so little animation in this show; it's not even funny. It's lots of still drawings that are being zoomed in on or scrolled across, and a mouth moves
Yeah.
while story is being told.
Yeah,
There is so little action
You
in
just
this
have to wait
show
until
so far.
Light eats a potato chip.
Like
Oh God.
they'll have
I take a potato chip. Yeah, it's
they'll
dramatic
have
as hell.
Light walking down a sidewalk.
No.
And instead of animating legs, they will throw a shrub or a hedge in front of him and just bounce him up and down.
Well, that's early.
For us
Like, that's
to
like late
assume
'90s,
that
early
he's
2000
walking.
animation. I mean, that's
Come
what
on, man.
That's what you did.
Animation's been around for
No,
ever at that
you know what
point.
though?
There's
You see,
no
no,
animation.
hold on. You think of Disney animation, so you
think of
of
any
anime. Well, here's
animation.
the thing: you think of Disney anime, and this is I've wondered if this is your main criticism on a lot of like the anime type animation, because you're not really a fan of the series stuff. With your Disney animation and stuff, you have millions of dollars going behind these projects.
Right.
With Japanese animation, they have to crank it out as quick as they possibly
Oh,
can
I
in
know. I
order to
understand
make
the-
money.
I
So
get
it's
that.
like not even a tenth of the budget.
Right.
So they're working with what they have, and in order to crank 37 episodes out,
Right.
they have to cut corners. You don't have to cut corners with the Disney stuff.
Right, I agree. But I mean, we're not just talking about Disney though. I'm talking about any animation. And that's why I don't really like a lot of American cartoons, even Disney cartoons, because the animation quality is less. That's just the nature of creating television animation. that's just the nature
That's
of
a
it.
hurdle. That
But
you
what
have
I'm
to
saying
deal
on
with.
this one is it is pronounced. It is, like I said, it is a still drawing, and one element in it is moving. It's like a mouth is moving.
Well,
and
and
that's it.
sometimes when it's internal dialogue, you don't even have the mouth moving. Like you said, it
Right,
just kind of
it's just a
zooms
still
in and
picture.
out.
Yeah.
It, like we see cool exterior shots of like his room.
Yeah,
And he's
or
kinda,
like the
sitting.
action lines when you're like, oh, he must be writing, but I can't see because the camera view is above his arms, so his hands are moving, but obviously his shoulders
Right.
are not. So no,
Right.
I definitely get that criticism, but I think what they make up for in a lack of sufficient animation is character design. And then also the storytelling itself. I think that each one of those characters, the way that they are rendered, is one of my favorite things about this anime is that each character does look drastically different. That to the point that you don't feel like there's a lot of redundancy. Which I think that's my biggest complaint with Attack on Titan is that there are
Everybody
times
likes
that
that.
you have no idea who's talking because all the characters look and sound the same, even the girls. So
See, and I agree with that. I feel like the characters are well designed, but I think the strength of this show, as I've already said, is the story.
For sure.
The story is
100%.
phenomenal. I'm already hooked on the story. The story is excellent. But I feel like once you've laid your eyes upon each character, you know what they look like. I could actually just play this show in the background and just listen to it, and I feel like I will get everything I need out of this show just by listening to it.
yeah, you could have.
Because
This
to
could
me,
have been a
this show
radio
is just
drama for
story.
sure.
Yeah, and that speaks very highly of the story writing. But for me, looking at it critically as an animated thing, it doesn't really give me everything that I want. Like I want more animation, basically.
I will say the animation quality does get better as the series goes along.
Well,
So
yeah, because
there
they
is
by the
that.
time they got to what I mean, it's only 2 seasons. So
I mean 37 episodes. I mean, typical anime would probably be 12 seasons.
It's listed as one season
almost
on
like 3
Netflix.
seasons, really.
Yeah.
Like once you get to Light really starting to like work side by side with L, it gets a little bit more, and then once L goes and it's in that final arc, then especially when you get around with Mello, Mello's moving all the time, and like he's constantly doing all kinds of crazy crap.
Nice.
So, I mean, it will get better. I will say.
All right.
it does,
I'm
but
gonna
I
watch
think
it.
for
I'm
me,
definitely
Especially
this,
by that final episode.
this was definitely one of those ones that I almost didn't pay attention to, like a lack of quality in animation or movement of the characters because I was just so invested in the story. So it was like, it's funny because now that Gavin, you're actually like kind of bringing that up, I think back to it. I'm like, yeah, you're right that there isn't a whole lot of movement. There isn't. I mean, because there's not a lot of action. Because when you think about it, this is just a guy writing names in a book and then they die. So unless their death is particularly gruesome or if they're very active, then you're going to see some things happen. But otherwise, mostly it's like, clutch my heart, keel over, I'm dead.
Exactly. That being 5 episodes in, the limit of the action is a guy got hit by a car and you only see the girl dodging the car.
Right.
And then guys dropping dead of heart attacks. Like, that's the limit of any real action that happens in an animated way.
A lot of guys like ripping their shirts open when they have heart attacks.
Yeah.
Is that a thing?
You got to give the heart room.
Exactly. It's like,
I
is
don't
that
know.
a thing? Like, when you have a heart attack, do you like rip your shirt open and go
Maybe.
like, guys, heart attack, and fall over? Like,
That's what I would do. I mean, like, if I was going to pee my pants, I would rip my pants open and be like, genitals! You know, like, that's just the way that it would work.
I like it.
okay, so I think we've talked enough about the anime.
All right.
Let's go into the wonderful Netflix movie that comes out in August. Gavin, I showed you the trailer.
Death Note meets Twilight.
Oh,
Welcome to
God.
Seattle.
Now, all right, how do we want to tackle this horrible elephant in the room?
All right, so...
First of all, I don't think it's an elephant in the room. I think the director of a movie has zero obligation to anything else besides making a good movie. That's where I launch from any of these arguments.
But one would say you have to stay close to the source material.
Have to. What are there laws here? No, this is art, man.
Right, but at the
I don't
same
think
time,
so at
like,
all.
isn't
If
there...
you make a good movie, you make a good movie.
With the outcry of whitewashing that has occurred in Hollywood, especially recently with Iron Fist, and the biggest criticism being, I mean, obviously it's a role which in the comic book was, you know, a Caucasian character, but one that was heavily borrowed from Japanese films of the time, like Bruce Lee films, you know, like Fist of Fury or Chinese Connection. So, you know, you're taking this iconic styled character and turning him white because you think that's what's going to appeal to a more broad audience, which it does at the time. You know, you accept that fact, but you also have to accept the fact that we are now in 2017. So you can adapt these characters to fit to the current times. It doesn't have to be a full, you know, Japanese, you know, legacy superstar. It can be somebody that's of Asian American descent. Maybe they have an Asian parent and a Caucasian parent. Who knows? Maybe that's Asian and African American. You know, you have the capabilities to develop this character to reach a more diverse and wider audience while also appeasing the diehard comic characters. So now you're taking a series which is not only a Japanese manga of some note, but also an anime that was very successful and multiple live action films as well as a musical. And now you've decided to whitewash it in Seattle, Washington with a white dude with the last name Turner. Like, come on, man. Like, there's a limit.
Well, here's the thing with that. I don't feel like it shouldn't be based on whatever your ethnicity is. So, like, the whitewashing thing, I guess I can see the problem. But my thing is, if you audition, whoever auditions the best gets that part. For all we know, this kid that was in the Naked Brothers band, maybe he who's playing Light, maybe he was the best actor that they got. The same thing with the dude that's playing L. Maybe he's the best actor that they got. We don't know. I mean, I'm not part of that audition process.
Let's be fair. Willem Dafoe was bored.
William Dafoe is the best casting in the whole entire thing.
Ridiculous.
So, like, my thing is, like, going off of, you know, what I just said, it doesn't, to me, I don't think you take a character and make them a certain ethnicity just because.
Right.
That seems like, with what you were saying with Iron Fist, Danny Rand's character, I mean, he's a white character, sure. We don't know how many Asian characters audition for Danny Rand. Maybe this dude from, what is he from, Denmark? Is it
Which one?
The dude that plays, he's from Danny Rand.
Oh, he's English.
He's English?
Yeah,
Whatever.
Finn Jones? Yeah, Finn Jones he's British.
Yeah. He could have been the best actor that auditioned. See, and that's one of those things that I don't think that, you know, just because you would pass up a good actor just to make them a certain ethnicity. I think that's doing disservice to the character and just doing disservice to your movie or your TV show.
See, I can see it from that aspect because it is the idea that is, you know, you don't want to do affirmative action. You know what I mean? Like, you're like, look, I'm going to cast, or, you know, I'm going to hire the best person regardless of the ethnicity, regardless of their gender, their sexual orientation, what have you. I mean, that's been the ongoing complaint of people being like, okay, well, how come we're constantly casting British actors in American acting roles? I mean, you look at Charlie Cox, he's British, but he plays an American as Daredevil. Finn Jones, same thing for Iron Fist. Heck, even Jessica Henwick playing Colleen Wing, yet again, a British actress, British Asian American actress, or a British Asian actress that's playing an American character. You look at Tom Holland playing Peter Parker. So yeah, I mean,
Andrew Lincoln, half the
I
cast
am
of The
furious
Walking Dead.
about
Yeah.
all this Anglo washing.
yeah, exactly. But
It's
but that's but that
very Anglo.
but that's kind of the thing is like you know you have that uprising. My big complaint for casting characters is like you had just a regular curly haired redheaded kid with freckles playing Banshee instead of an actual Irish person who could have played the iconic Irish mutant. You know, Sean Cassidy. Like, Sean Cassidy was the first, like, big Irish mutant, and yet you didn't cast an Irish actor to portray this character. So I get it. Like, I get from being from that side and saying, like, hey, this is a character that I personally would identify with, so I would have liked to have seen that go to an actor of a similar background because it would have made sense. But you have to think that these cultures that feel underrepresented, especially in Hollywood, like the Asian American culture, which you see in superhero films, portrayed as what? As bad guys? Like, basically the Hand could be Asians or Madame Gao could be Asian. So as long as it's a villain, it's acceptable. So you're telling me that Madame Gao, you have to cast her as an Asian because she was the best actress, but there wasn't a white Asian or a white Caucasian grandma that couldn't have also played that role. So, like, there's certain roles that they go, okay, well, we can't whitewash this role because it makes sense that that person's Asian, but we can whitewash this role because we think that's what's going to hit a wider audience. So, like I said, it still holds, like, you should have some compassion to that culture and say, okay, maybe we bite the bullet on this one, whether or not they were the best actor that we saw. Were they still going to bring something to that role that maybe a Caucasian actor wouldn't have brought because this is somebody of an actual Asian descent? Then maybe you go that direction because you know it's the right thing to do, not just because, oh, we're trying to make our bottom line. You know what I mean? Like, that's that difference.
Right, but in the example we're talking about here, they've already done 4 live-action films.
Yeah, they've done 4 live-action
Japanese
films.
live-action films, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
And they've
yeah,
done a
and
musical.
yeah, and you've
So,
got the
like,
musical.
Why do
Oh,
we
for
need
sure.
another
Dramas.
one? Why do we need another one? That's like in any sense, why do we need another one? First of all, in
Oh, yeah.
a
Yeah,
secondary
hands down.
sense, I wish that when we're talking about things like this in particular, that they would just come out and say in the beginning, this is either this is the live action version of this manga
that's what it is.
and
It's
TV
a
show,
live action adaptation.
Or they could say, there's one of 2 things they could say. They could say that, or they could say, this is inspired by Death Note. And that's what I feel like this is. It's not, this is the live action version. It's like, this is our take on it. This is inspired by. In which case, I mean, especially since you're resetting it in Seattle.
Yeah,
like,
it's completely Americanized.
You can change all the rules at that point.
Exactly. I mean, 'cause,
Right.
yeah, when we've taken it and we've completely Americanized it. So in that aspect, you can be like, hey, we just need actors to come by because we are Americanizing it. So it's
Right.
everything's American. Like L is an African American dude.
Oh,
It's like,
yeah.
hey, he's not a Japanese person.
Right.
So it comes down to, since we've Americanized it, and this is an adaptation of the manga. This is not the direct. I mean, obviously you can't make a live action because you're gonna cut corners somewhere.
Right.
So that's why you can't make a really faithful book to movie adaptation. You only have X amount of time and you just can't do it.
Right, right.
Okay, so on that note, think about this. So you're Americanizing this, and then obviously you're looking at Seattle. So sure, maybe in Seattle, vast majority of the population is of Caucasian descent. That's fine, right? But think about what the premise of this show begins as. You've got a somewhat angry teen with a god complex.
This could happen in any. This doesn't matter what country the Death Note happens, because basically Ryuk, because he writes it in English because it's the most popular language, he just kind of throws it in the portal, and it's like, oh well, we'll see where this lands.
No, I'm with you on that. So you're right. I mean, it could technically end up anywhere, but think about if you're casting this and you're putting it in the American system, right? So think about the inherent problem in the fact that what is the typical ethnicities that we see overwhelmingly represented in American prisons? Minorities. So you've got African Americans, Hispanics, just people of what would be considered a non-Caucasian descent. So now you've cast a white person that is going to, in the beginning, at least of the manga, if this is going to be an adaptation, who is recklessly killing people that have been convicted, whether they are innocent or not, in the criminal justice system in America. So now you have basically the premise of here's a white supremacist just willfully killing people willy-nilly that are of a non-Caucasian descent, and now he's being hunted by somebody that is also non-Caucasian, which, as we've said in the anime, eventually is killed. So whether you're good or bad, you're still killed by the white guy, who now, instead of having, maybe you cast the girlfriend as an Asian American. Nope, she's Caucasian as well. Do you see the inherent difficulties with this?
I think that's a broad generalization to say that this character is only going to kill minorities.
No, I'm sure he'll kill some white people too.
That's basic, but I'm just saying that seems like something that would be. I mean, honestly, I can see your point, but I think that's a broad stroke that you're like, this white guy's going to be killing all these minorities, and I think that's a little bit too much.
I think that's just statistics, though.
Exactly. I mean, you look at statistically in Japan.
This is also fiction, so we don't know what this fictional world is.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. You look at the manga, you look at the animation series. It's set in Japan, which is mostly a homogenized country. So if it's Light Yagami, who is of Japanese descent, killing a bunch of other people of Japanese descent, it doesn't have that ring of racism to it. Whereas when you come into a country like America, which is as diverse as it is, why set yourself up to like I said, Netflix already has this issue with Iron Fist, so you really want to bring in another series that is going to inherently bring all of this controversy with it? Why not just put that aside and immediately find the ways that you can fix that in the simplest sense? Don't whitewash your cast.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, to me, it just makes the most sense to avoid the controversy you literally just faced on a Marvel series that all of your other Netflix Marvel shows have been smash hits, and then this was the one that suffered, not just because of the storylines or the lack of sufficient martial arts, but because you basically were being shown as whitewashing your cast. Right. Like I said, I think Netflix could have avoided a lot of issues. One, not making this series at all, and two, not setting it the way that they decided to set it.
Yeah, I actually, sitting kind of third party here, I can see your side and Josh's here. I feel like there is a point to be made in that this is fantasy. This is, something that's not, based in our reality, in our time, in America, like right now, all of that. But I do also see the other side where there is racial tension in America. It seems to have kind of increased again in recent years for various reasons. And so, people have to be careful with their statements and with their, with the choices they make in arenas like this. I think that, something like this to be, I don't necessarily consider any of this mainstream. I don't think this is going to be a middle of the road major hit in any way. I could be wrong about that, but, something within the community of anime and, nerddom in general, like this is big enough though to spark discussions like this. And I think that's good because discussions are always good. It helps us understand the world around us and how to make it better. But, the idea that we're continuing racism or we're, adding to, negative forces in the world by casting choices in movies, I think is sometimes a little silly. I just think that there are more important avenues or battlefields to wage such wars.
No, I agree. No, and you're right, because it definitely is that. It's the idea that sometimes we put more pressure and we build up more things than is necessary.
Right.
You know, in the name of social justice or in the name of personal preferences. But yeah, I do think that winning in every arena possible, especially when it comes to stamping out even the ideas of racism. And I'm not saying like, oh, well, from now on we can't cast a Caucasian actor at all. No, I'm not saying that. That's ridiculous.
Right.
Otherwise, I would never get a job in any of the voiceover that I do. Say somebody was like, well, no, you can't. I can't have you do the voice for this character because they're African American and you're white. You know what I mean? It's like, well, it's a voice. Like, why would that make a difference? But I do think that there are certain opportunities that, to me at least, in my perception, that I think that they could have gone a smarter path, or maybe a path like Robert Frost says, I took the path less taken. And I think that that ultimately is what is important in situations like this, when it is you had the opportunity to do something that maybe gave somebody that would not normally maybe have gotten the look for that particular role a chance to take that role and possibly excel. But I think sometimes a lot of it is the weight of the studios. And, you know, some of this comes from like my experience in voice acting, you know, my friend Tim Page, like his experience in voice acting, and just where studios go with the safe bet because they're very afraid of their bottom line. And I understand that, because at the end of the day, like, they need to make money in order to make more content. And if we don't like the way that they're making content, then maybe we should create it ourselves. So, you know, I'm fully on board with that. So, you know, if I wanted to make a Death Note adaptation, maybe I'll cast an Asian actor. For Josh, maybe he would go a different route. Heck, maybe he goes with an African American actor because he goes, "Hey, let's change this up completely."
That's my thing. It's like I don't care. It's like I just want the best actor to play this person. Right. It's like it doesn't matter if there would have been a female come in and audition for Light. I'm totally down with that. I don't care. I just care about whoever the best actor that auditioned and who got the part. And that's all I want.
And then
I'm hoping because I'm not 100% hopeful for this trailer, just because, you know, just seeing everything, you're like, okay, yeah, so we're smoking in the high school. Cool, that's right. That's sure, why not?
Right.
Because that never
Stephanie
happened.
Meyer.
Like, when I see that, and that gets me less hopeful, but I mean, I also haven't seen anybody act in it. I've seen the one kid say, whichever human possesses this death note. Yeah, that's all that we've seen. Yeah. So I mean, maybe when we get some more trailers, I'll be able to make a better opinion and maybe see like, okay. Plus, I mean, I'm gonna watch the movie,
right?
Because it's like, well, I mean, yeah.
Again, though, the strength of this story is the story. It's the storytelling. So whether
and like you said, you could listen to it and not even watch the people. So I mean, it really doesn't matter who's
exactly
on screen.
It could be any race or creed or whatever,
gender, what have you.
And if they respect the story, then it'll be good.
And I think that's ultimately, I think the bottom line on that is like, so long as they're staying true to like the morality issue of the story, like I think it could have enhanced it by trying to incorporate race relations in that as well. I think that would have made it more pertinent to what's going on in today's society, and then maybe it would have resonated with more people that would go back and watch the anime or watch the Japanese versions. But I think, Josh, to kind of touch on what you said, is that as long as the best person is cast in those roles, then we should be happy, so long as the film itself is great. And that's so tough because like opinions are like, you know, belly buttons. Everybody has one, and they're all different. So it's one of those that just who we may have thought was the best fit is going to be drastically different in some cases than what maybe a studio executive views as the best person. And what was the influencing factor? Was it their actual performance? Was it maybe their agent? You owed a favor to them, like we've seen in Entourage, you know, or was it just, hey, this person has a name, they're going to be the one that sells tickets, or in Netflix's case, is downloads. So.
Their criteria was probably how well can you stand perfectly still and only move
only move while eating a potato chip.
Right.
Yeah. I really okay. See, here's the thing that's gonna win this for me. If they include the potato chip scene, if they don't include the potato chip scene, it's an automatic 1 star because we can't go any lower than that.
Amazing.
Yeah, I'm pretty much on board for that one. I would have preferred to have Misa Amani as a model and I guess actress to some degree.
What is she in this?
She's
Is
a
she
cheerleader. She's a
of
freaking
course.
cheerleader. So it's like it's like I don't know how you could make this more awful and like Twilight-esque. Other than making the one black guy in the entire thing a second-rate villain. He's not even the main villain in the first Twilight. He's like a second-rate villain, and everybody else that you have is white, other than the Native American guy that is like trying to be stereotypically Native American. So, I mean, like I said, it is what it is. I will probably watch it, or at least start it, and then let it reel me in. If it reels me in, awesome. If it doesn't, then no harm, no foul.
Yeah. I hope. See, here's the thing. I hope it's fantastic. I really hope that this blows everybody away, and it's wonderful, and everybody loves it. It gets rave reviews
money on it.
Because I want them to do more.
Really?
I would like them to do more anime adaptations.
Oh.
So let me ask you this though, like,
Oh yeah, I don't want another Death Note.
I was gonna say,
the way
what?
it ends with light going out, perfect.
Yeah, okay.
It's a perfect ending. It literally is an open and shut case.
Okay.
Because that's what you get out of it. But there are other anime that I would love to see get an adaptation.
Can't relate.
So let me ask you this real quick, because I know we're going long-winded on this. Initially, it was supposed to be a series that was going to be optioned, and it was supposed to be Shane Black, the director of Iron Man 3 and Kiss Kiss Bang Bang. So he was initially hired to direct the film, and then obviously that fell apart, and then Adam Wingard was brought on board to do this adaptation of it or whatnot. Would you have preferred a series as opposed to another single live action?
Yeah, only because with the series, we're going to be able to get more character development.
Yeah.
Josh
Because
wants more
unless
story.
this is going to be like that, what was that show that they had with the kid with he got like, oh man, it was some Netflix show that came on. It had Macy Williams in it. It's about the kid who could like communicate with like computers and stuff.
Oh, weird.
Who wore tennis shoes?
Yeah, it was what?
Never mind. Go
Yeah,
ahead.
I know. You try to make funny jokes, but they're never good. Yeah, it was some Netflix original movie that it was actually really good, but it felt like it could have been a little bit longer. But I think the way that they did that movie, though, it actually fit in the timeline because it told the story.
Right.
And you got this time passing feel, and it worked. So if they kind of make it, I can't remember for the life of me what that stupid movie was, but if they do it like that, I think they'll be okay. Like, would I prefer a series? Yes, I always prefer anything longer that's going to take me longer to watch.
Right.
Than it's going to be 2.5 hours.
For sure. Yeah, I think I'm more on board with that as well. What about you, Gavin? Would you have preferred knowing that this is going to go in as a full series, or is a one shot fine with you because you're okay with just watching this anime and being done?
Yeah, no, for me, I'm still mystified at the call for remaking animated things in live action. I don't get it. It's lost on me. Like Jungle Book. What? I didn't need that. I don't need Beauty and the Beast. I don't need Lion King. I don't need Aladdin. I don't need Mulan. I don't need Dumbo. Like, I don't need any of these to be remade live action. So, but if they're gonna do it, I think it's obviously it was a manga and then it was a TV series, so it makes sense for it to then be a show, not a movie.
Right.
Because there is episodic storytelling involved in the foundation of it, in the spine of it. So I feel like it probably should have been a series.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I mean, I think it could be made into a decent movie. I don't know. I mean, again, I never feel like the next iteration is obligated to the previous in any way. So like whenever a movie comes out that's based on a book, I don't judge it against the book because that's a book and this is a movie. They're two totally different vehicles.
Yeah.
So I don't have any, I cut the ties between the two. So I don't need it to be exactly anything that existed before it. I just need it to be good and entertaining. So
yeah, for sure.
This could be a good movie. I don't know. I love Willem Dafoe. I think he's captivating. So I will probably watch it just for him.
The Netflix movie was iBoy.
iBoy.
Oh,
Kind
God.
of like iPod.
Lowercase I?
Yeah, lowercase I boy. Yeah.
That's
It was
awesome.
actually
enough.
quite good. Yeah, like I was very surprised that it was as good as it was.
Nice. And that currently has one streaming record, and it belongs to Josh Kane.
Probably.
Yeah, I believe
Well,
it.
with that one was one of those they cast Macy Williams because it's like, oh, this is Arya Stark from Game of Thrones. Let's bring them in, but let's really not have her in the movie that much.
Okay.
But we'll put her on the cover and
Right,
everything like
right.
that, so she'll break the downloads.
Nice.
She was great in it,
I
but
believe you.
Well, somebody had to be.
Yeah. Yeah, the main guy was kind of a very wet blanket. It was very like
Very Charlie
ooh.
Brown.
Pretty much, it's like you could have cast anybody. You know, it's like, was he the best one that auditioned?
Right. Yeah, exactly. If this was the best that you had, I would have hate to have seen who missed it.
Yeah, right. It's like, oh man,
Exactly.
I could have gotten that bar.
Right. And done better with it.
All right, so I think that's a good. We had multiple.
I think we covered everything. We covered
Yeah.
like racism and American culture and whitewashing.
which is all American culture.
Yeah, which is all still part of the same
So let's
thing.
say you basically said the same thing.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. No,
Which
you
I'm
know me.
sure-
I love getting on the soapbox when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Sure.
But let us know what you think in the comments below.
In the
Yes,
comments
indeed.
below. Hey, are we rating this one? Because I realized the last time Brittany and I were on
Oh,
the show,
yeah,
we
we
did
didn't-
Hey
yeah, we
Arnold. We
didn't
didn't
rate.
rate it.
Oh, yeah.
What's your ratings for Hey Arnold?
For
I didn't rate Hey Arnold either.
I think Brittany's was a 4. I think mine was like a 3 or maybe a 2.5 because I was kind of
I'm
like,
gonna give it-
I haven't watched enough to really have a full opinion. But what I watched was like, okay, but it didn't
I'm gonna give it- I'm
entice
gonna
me
give
to
it a
watch
4.
more.
Yeah, I'll give it a 4.
A 4. There you go. So
Yeah.
you and Brittany were on the same level.
All right, so Death
What about
Note.
with this one?
Yeah, so I'll go first since I've only seen 5 episodes and the jury is still out with me
Gonna get a
basically.
2.
But where I am right now, I am really intrigued with the story. I've voiced my criticisms of the animation. I think the character design is pretty damn good. So I'm sitting right now on a 3.
Nice.
Wait till you see this. Wait till you
It
see
could
this
go
one
up or
face that
down.
Light makes. It's great. Like when he's standing over Elle, he's got this.
I'll look
like
forward
yeah,
to that.
it's like a ooh face.
Nice.
What about you, Liam?
I'm gonna go with
How many
4.5.
clouds? 4.5 clouds.
4.5 clouds because
Nice.
it to me it's still one of my favorites. So solid. The story, like I said, every time I watch it, I pick up on something else. The lack of a lot of action in the animation aspect of it, yeah, that probably dings at that little half a cloud, but still, all in all, like Gavin said, heck, you could sit and have it on in the background, and as long as you're still hearing it, it's enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I'll say I'm okay with that. I'm going to give it 4. I'm going to give the manga 5 dippers,
Right.
Nice.
but I'm going to give the anime 4 dippers.
Okay.
And I think I was just thinking about this while, you guys were talking about the animation and everything and how there's not a lot going. And it doesn't bother me because I usually read the manga first.
Right.
And it's still pages.
Yeah,
so it's
so
like,
much
oh,
like it,
so
yeah.
it doesn't bother me as much.
Right.
Like when they're, just doing that walking thing for like 19 miles.
Right.
Or it's the bike riding scene where it's like the same bike riding animation, but instead of, actually showing like scenery go by, they do that thing where it's like either a white background or they make it go like, but it looks like it's going by really, really fast, so they just
Right.
kind of blur it. Yeah. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, I'm okay with
Yeah.
that.
It is. It's all story, man. It's all story. But it's
Alright.
good story.
It's good for
Yeah.
All right, so ready to go to the top 5?
We're
Let's
ready.
do it.
Liam, thanks so much for coming on. Where can everybody find you?
Oh, you can find me at Liam Bright. You can follow the show at Cloud City Cast. And my apologies that Brittany didn't get to join in. She walked in while we were in the middle of our big debate there, and she
was like,
she
"No."
She kind of mouthed like, "I'll come back later," and I was like, "All right, fair enough." So yeah, so that's it. You can follow our show. This week has been a flip week because we lost a bet to our dear friends here on Animation Station. So we did, instead of our typical Marvel Monday, Walt Wednesday, and Force Friday, we had to do a Man of Steel Monday, which we talked all things DC. We did a How to Train Your Wednesday, which was all things DreamWorks, which in retrospect, I wish we had done Nickelodeon instead because DreamWorks is pretty terrible.
Oh, yeah, Nickelodeon would have been better.
Oh,
haven't listened to that one
I
yet.
was so bored just even talking in that episode. I was like, how am I going to talk about the Croods and be excited? I can't. It's impossible. And then we weren't able to put out our Final Frontier Friday on early Friday morning, but it will be uploaded so you guys can still enjoy it for the weekend.
Sweet. Can't wait to hear that one.
Perfect.
Nice. All right, so top 5. Wow, I went through puberty there.
That was
all good.
nice.
And now for another top 5.
So for this top 5, it's our top 5 favorite animated superpowers.
Yes. Or just powers. It's just kind of powers.
Yeah, they're just kind of powers.
Yeah. And man, I'm sure there is a whole spectrum of definitions of what makes a superpower.
I will say my number 3 is gonna surprise the pants off of you.
Really?
Sir. It's
Ooh, I
gonna
can't wait for number
surprise
3.
the pants off you.
I honestly, here's a spoiler. I could not think of a single non-Disney one to put on my list. Not Disney or Pixar. Like, they're all Disney and Pixar.
I couldn't
for me.
think of a single Disney one to put on my list.
Yeah, it's just that's the difference in our experience. But I tried and tried and tried, but I couldn't really come up with one.
So I went last time, so I get to go first.
Yep.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. So for my number 5, I went a little not as mainstream anime. I went with it's an anime called Elfen Lied.
Ooh, I never heard of that one.
It's very German, the film. But basically, it's this girl named Lucy.
Mm-hmm.
She has these invisible telekinetic hands called vectors
Weird.
that she uses her mind to control, and they basically have X amount of reach, 60 feet, and they can basically do whatever. So if she wants to grab somebody, she can grab somebody. She mainly uses them to kill people, but they are super cool.
How does she kill?
I mean, it's literally a hand,
Mm-hmm.
and so she's got 2 of them, and there's no strength requirements for them. So
no
I mean,
strength
they're
limit?
super, yeah.
Okay.
So she can just grab people like there's this one girl.
Ooh.
Oh, this poor girl. She's this intern. It's in episode 1 in the first 5 minutes. She's carrying this coffee, and it's her first day or something.
Right.
And she's like, "Oh, I brought your coffee," and she runs into Lucy because Lucy has broken out at this point.
Okay.
She's this experiment, and she broke out. And so
She broke out of a lab?
yeah, she's killing all these guards, and so she goes and this poor little girl is you see Lucy and this group of just guards, just guns drawn at her, ready to shoot her out, and this girl walks in between them, and she's just oh, hey, I'm sorry, and then she turns, doesn't see Lucy at all, and it's oh, hey, yeah, I got your coffee. And you see this hand, just kind of invisible hand, just grab the back of her head and it twists it off.
Oh.
And so the girl turns around, and then she's looking at Lucy, and then I think Lucy takes the head and throws it at this other guard.
Wow.
And kills it. Yeah, dude, it's very violent. It's a great anime.
What's shocking here is that you picked something so dark, Josh.
Nah, that's pretty on point for me.
Oh my gosh. Whew. That's brutal. All right.
Bring it back to happy with the magical place on Earth.
Oh, believe me, I'm about to. My number 5, none other than our favorite blonde-haired princess, Rapunzel.
Oh, nice.
She can
Magical
heal with her
healing
hair. That's a superpower.
I didn't even think about magical healing hair.
So she keeps her evil stepmother alive or young eternally, basically, until she figures her game out. She heals Flynn's hand.
I don't really know the words.
Yeah, but you're
gonna
singing it
heal.
beautifully.
Yeah, that's how it goes.
Yeah, so my number 5 is Rapunzel.
That's nice.
Affectionately known to the Disney files as Punzi.
What?
Yeah, that's her nickname.
Her name is
Everybody shortens it
Punzi?
to Punzi. Yep.
Wow, that's
She's
weird.
cool.
My number 4, I went with another little anime called Attack on Titan,
Oh, I've heard of that one.
and I went with Eren Yeager's Titan transformation power.
Nice.
So basically, he kind of bites his thumb. Like you do. And he basically turns into like this gigantic Titan who can like beat the crap out of people. It's pretty dope.
So the trigger for it is he bites his thumb?
Well, he goes like this. He got like that, kind of like his like almost knuckle-ish area. And
That's
like
the weirdest
it's like
thing
a cause
ever.
pain thing.
Okay.
And like that kind of helps his transformation. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Kind of like Hulk, like if you
kind of,
like,
yeah.
punch
And
yourself
then
in the
and then he
face,
kind
Hulk
of then he
out.
kind of like turns into like Ultraman and get like big and buff and stuff like that. Punch, yeah.
Interesting.
It's pretty dope.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay.
But there's cooler Titans than Aaron, like the Armored Titan. He's
Yeah.
pretty dope.
But he doesn't have a superpower?
Oh yeah, he's an Armored Titan. Same thing. It's just he's like a big armored like
So
quarterback.
is he higher on your list?
No, I mean this is the Titan transformation. It's just like the transformation in general.
Gotcha.
I don't want to do spoilers for anybody who hasn't read up on Attack on Titan, so I'm not going to say if other Titans have names
Okay.
other than Annie because we know she's the female Titan.
It's very respectful for
Yeah,
you.
see?
You're respecting our audience.
Here at Animation Station, we keep things spoiler free until we don't.
All right, so I'm going cold on the next one. My favorite Pixar superhero, Frozone.
Cold?
Frozone, dude.
Oh, same thing.
Sam Jackson is so cool as Frozone. I love him. And
Well, see, you're picking, superheroes.
yeah, he has a superpower. He can control
We're
the.
picking
He can freeze.
superpowers.
He can freeze the water in the ice. Sorry, he can freeze the water in the ice. That sounded ridiculous. He can freeze the water in the air to create ice and skate on it really fast.
Moisture in the air.
It's cool power.
Okay, sure.
Yeah.
I'll allow it.
So I mean, you said something a second ago. I mean, I feel like we're ranking the top 5 characters with superpowers.
No.
Are you actually ranking the actual superpowers?
The superpowers.
We went at this at 2 totally different
Well, 'cause
ways.
we've already done superheroes.
Which is not shocking at all.
Well, we've already done superheroes.
Did we do superheroes?
Yeah, we did superheroes.
Okay, but okay.
I think.
I don't know if we
I
did.
can't remember.
We
maybe,
did
maybe
flyers.
Maybe it was a topic. Maybe superheroes
Maybe that's
was
true.
a. Okay,
yeah,
I may be getting them mixed up.
So you ranked superpowers. I ranked characters with superpowers.
Yeah.
Sweet. This is awesome.
So great. Yeah.
So we both win.
My number 3.
Okay.
I decided to go with some ice powers of my own.
Ooh.
I went with Elsa's ice powers from Frozen.
Nice.
The reason
I
is
am
So here's the thing.
shocked
Here's the
right
thing.
now.
And you'll understand why. They make no sense.
Mm-hmm.
So technically, they have no limits whatsoever. She It's like she can create life. She can create clothes. She creates an entire mansion for herself.
Right.
She can basically do whatever she wants. She can bring people back from the dead.
Yeah.
So technically, she's like God. So, I mean, you can't really get much better than that.
I mean, there's a legitimate argument to be made that she has epic superpowers.
She is extremely OP.
Nice.
It's pretty ridiculous. So yeah, so Elsa and Elsa's ice weird.
See, that's amazing.
Whatever that
because
is.
That's the one that was going to surprise me, right?
That was going to
Okay,
surprise you.
That's
yeah.
perfect. And it's only because you're ranking superpowers and not characters with superpowers.
Oh no, yeah, she's garbage.
And that's
but-
amazing. Well, okay, my number 3, my last one was Frozone. I'm staying in the Frozen zone and picking for my number 3 another cold character.
Elsa.
Close.
Oh.
What many people say is her boyfriend, Jack Frost from Rise of the Guardians.
Oh.
Yeah.
Forgot about Jack Frost.
He's awesome.
Ooh,
I love him.
ooh.
He can fly and he has all those ice powers.
Yeah,
He's great.
That's pretty cool.
I love him.
And
He's got that really cool staff. Like
That
he's
staff
just like
is
some
dope.
kind of like street kid, but then he has that like old school like shepherd
He's a
staff
very
or whatever.
he's a very Chris Pine like cool kid
Yeah.
on the block.
It's so good. Anyway, I love Jack Frost. I like that movie top to bottom, and we talked about it on a previous episode.
Yeah.
It's good.
My number 2, I went with Flight, but more
Ooh.
specifically like Flight from like Dragon Ball Z, like Goku and stuff like that. You know how they can
So,
like zip
short
around.
burst flight.
Well, I mean, like they can fly for long periods of time, but they can also go like zip, 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 zip,
Oh.
like kind of like flash step type thing. So it's like flash, 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 flash.
Oh.
So they're super quick,
Mhm.
but they can kind of like Superman chill when they want to.
All right.
But it really just depends on I
Nice.
guess what type of hurry they're in. So yeah, so I went with like Dragon Ball Z type flight.
I like it. I like it. Again, this is so interesting that we went at this at two totally different angles. All right, so my number 2 is superpowered because he's part god. None other than Disney's Hercules, blessed with superhuman strength.
Yeah.
And basically invulnerability to a large extent.
Yeah, to a large extent.
Yeah.
That's good.
Yeah.
Didn't think about Hercules either.
Yeah, he's awesome. I thought about picking Hades, but then I thought, like, he doesn't really do a whole lot as far as having powers. Like, he rules
He's
as
just
a god over Hades, but he makes deals. Like, there are powers in the deals that he makes, I guess. But, I mean, I feel like Hercules beat him, so he's better.
Yeah.
So, Hercules.
Gives him a right punch.
Yes.
Do you have any honorables?
I do, actually.
Okay. I got none.
You got none?
Nah.
All right. Well, I did throw Elsa on my honorable mention list because, she's got cool powers. I threw Peter Pan because dude can fly. I mean, he uses a pixie dust, but he can fly. He's awesome. The Blue Fairy from Pinocchio, because I love getting some Pinocchio in there. I mean, she can give life to a puppet, and then when that puppet does good, she can turn it into a real person. What the heck? That's a superpower.
What the heck?
And then my last one is, have you ever seen the movie Bolt?
Yeah, it's the dog.
It's a fantastic movie. Totally underrated
Voiced
Disney
by
movie.
John Travolta,
That's
whose
right.
owner is Miley Cyrus.
Yeah, it's
and there's
exactly
there's
right.
some sort of hamster in a bowl, probably
Yes.
voiced by Jonah Hill.
His name's Rhino. No, it was before Jonah Hill's popular. I can't remember who does that one. Anyway,
Justin Long.
Bolt is only an honorable mention because he thinks he has superpowers. You know, he's the star of that show where he has
Rin Tin Tin
superpowers,
or whatever?
and so he's convinced by all the special effects that they employ on the show to think he's this superpowered dog.
it's
So
the
when he
Truman
gets
Show.
lost and he's out on his own, he tries to use his powers and he doesn't have them.
I mean, not Truman Show. I don't know why I said Truman Show. I meant like Last Action Hero
I never saw that one.
with Schwarzenegger.
No, I don't like Schwarzenegger, so I never saw that one. Yeah.
Seen Predator.
Parts of it.
Oh man, Predator's
Yeah.
great.
Yeah, I think let me think. The only Schwarzenegger movie that I kind of like is Kindergarten Cop.
Like,
I
who's your daddy and what does he do?
Yes, I love that scene. I do kind of like Twins as well. That's about it.
DeVito?
Yeah, dude, I like DeVito.
Sure.
So you got no honorable mentions?
Yeah, I got none.
All right, dude, drop your number 1.
My number 1, I went with a little syphilis. I went with a little Nickelodeon show called Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Ooh,
and I went with Avatar powers.
Right,
Because
that's good.
you're literally controlling earth,
Right.
fire, wind, water. You're like the best of all benders,
Yeah.
even though you're stuck in Aang's body. But still, you're just your powers alone are super dope.
Right. I understand those because they're kind of classically, they're classic powers, the earth, wind, fire, whatever. And
band.
it is good band. You're a shining star. Anyway, yeah, that's
I was
actually
gonna go
one.
with you, but then I was like, no.
That's actually one that I've been interested in watching for a long time. So I do need to eventually get around to that
3
one.
seasons and they're all on Amazon Prime.
Oh, see, I need to watch that then.
Or they're all in there
In your
on
room
DVD.
over there, yeah. I need to get around to watching that because it's been on my radar for a long time now. I need to do that.
You know what Oliver told me? Well, actually, he sent me a picture last night. It kind of completely off topic. Well, kind of. It kind of goes back to last week's episode. He found the entire Hey Arnold series, all 5 seasons. I think it's 100 episodes.
Yeah.
On sale at Walmart for $20.
Dang.
I was like, jeez.
Speaking of Oliver, if you guys haven't gone back and listened to our Batman Under the Red Hood episode, the bonus episode, you guys should go back and check that out. Josh and Oliver, super nerd out over Batman.
What?
Yeah.
That was the Batman theme song.
I know. You were doing your thing.
That
I was doing
not
mine.
the Batman theme song.
I don't know.
I know.
I wouldn't know. I know. All I know is na 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 Batman. The old one. That's the only one I know.
from the 60s. The Atom Warrior.
I kind of know the main theme from the first Tim Burton one. Isn't that the dun 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 dun? That one?
No,
Am I
that's
way
Back
off?
to the Future.
Oh.
That's dun 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 Batman. Yeah,
okay.
that's the Batman one. That's the Tim Burton Batman.
My bad.
So
Is it my turn?
What's your number one?
All right, so I'm going with my favorite powered or superpowered
I forgot the Powerpuff Girls.
character. Did
With
they have
sugar,
powers?
spice, and everything nice. These were the ingredients chosen to create the perfect little girls. But Professor Utonium accidentally added a secret ingredient to the concoction.
What was it?
X.
Oh my god.
And thus the Powerpuff Girls were born. Using their ultra superpowers, Blossom, Bubbles, and Buttercup dedicated their lives to fighting crime and the forces of evil. It's really sad that I knew all that right off the top of my head.
It's perfectly natural that you would know all that stuff. That's who you are.
Oh, and do you know what is created for the Rowdy Rough Boys? The evil boy version of the Powerpuff Girls?
I've never seen Powerpuff Girls.
Snips and Snails and Puppy Dog Tails.
Oh my gosh. Go figure.
So, what's your number one?
My favorite powered character of all time.
Captain Planet would have been cool, too.
Are the Ninja Turtles superpowered?
I mean,
Kind
yeah,
of?
they're kind of like a...
I'm
they're a Daredevil ripoff.
I'm surprised you didn't do any like comic book characters. Like you didn't have like Spider-Man or
Don't like Spider-Man.
Superman.
Not a fan of Superman.
Oh, okay. So my top pick, my number one is. I'm just waiting to see if you're going to cut me off again.
Okay.
You don't have any material left?
I got some, but go ahead.
Okay. Genie from Aladdin. He's totally powered.
Yeah, but I mean that's the way he was born. I mean,
Born
like,
that way or not, he's got
like,
powers.
Dude, it's not Maybelline.
Phenomenal cosmic powers.
Oh, sure. I don't know. I don't know how. I don't know.
I mean,
his,
dude,
I don't know
look
his
what he
words.
does. Like he creates that giant parade out of nowhere. That's a superpower. Parade creation. He changes Apu into an elephant. That's a superpower.
Eh.
Yeah. No, he does. He turns Jafar into the greatest sorcerer in the world. That's a superpower. He has limitations, but he's also hilarious.
He's got these cool shackles on his arm.
He has superpowered comedy as well. So he's
some comedy
he's the
that
number
some
one.
say transcends any sort of space and time.
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, he's supposed to be,
Oh,
old.
yeah, it's supposed to be set in
the
times
old Middle
before
East,
all of
yeah.
his topical references.
He's doing Macy's Thanksgiving
right.
Day parade
and
references.
Rodney Dangerfield
Yeah.
impersonations. That's because he is in charge of space and time as well. So he's the best.
All right, well, I think that's it. I mean, I don't
think
have
that's
anything
it.
else.
I don't have anything else either.
I want to say thanks again to Liam and Brittany from Cloud City Cast
Definitely.
for coming on and
And
talking Death Note
obviously,
with us.
thanks to the audience during Audience Appreciation April. Thank you so much.
yes, you guys
are
were
the
great.
best.
We'll be having our drawing soon, so don't worry. We
Aw,
did not forget about the
yeah.
drawing. Carolina, I got the drawing. We're doing it. Don't worry. The question to get an extra, because we haven't done it like the last 3 times.
We
The
have-
question for this week. I don't know what I have.
How about what Japanese movie are we seeing this weekend?
Well,
If they
technically
listen, they should
It was
know.
last weekend. What Japanese,
This past
film?
weekend, what did we watch?
Yes.
If you listen to the show, you definitely should know.
And be sure and use it as a hashtag.
Yes.
Yeah, hashtag movie that we watched.
That's a good one.
Sure.
I like that one.
All right. For the Animation Station podcast, my name is Josh, and you can find me on Twitter and Instagram. I kind of did that weird.
That's
You can
cool.
find me on Twitter and Instagram at Josh L. Kane.
My name is Gavin, and you can find me on Instagram and Twitter at Gavin Otteson Art.
You can find the podcast on Instagram at Animation Station Podcast,
And you can find us on Twitter at Animate Podcast.
and online at our website, animationstationpodcast.com. You can download all of our episodes on iTunes.
And Stitcher.
and through the podcast tab on our website. So
I think that's it.
I think that's it.
Good job, dude.
Yeah, so for the Animation Station, I'm Josh.
I'm Gavin.
Bye-bye, little butterfly.
Made you look.
Ba-ba-ba-ba-da.
Even my closing line is the change.
Thank you for listening to the Animation Station podcast. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Animation Station Podcast. Follow us on Twitter at Animate Podcast. Subscribe to us on iTunes and join the conversation at secretsuperheroclub.com, where you can connect with our podcast friends, Cloud City Cast, Getting Into Comics, and Shaun of the Gathering.